Welcome to Anonymous Tarot. I'm your host, Cleo, and I'm thrilled to be exploring the symbolism of the chariot with you today.
I love starting with a question. What is the chariot to you? Is it a feeling of control, a sense of momentum, or perhaps a reminder to focus our intentions?
For me, the chariot represents the union of opposites, the balance of masculine and feminine, active and passive, rational and intuitive. It's a reminder to integrate these energies within ourselves.
That's so beautifully said, Cleo. The chariot can also feel like a call to action, a need to take charge of our lives, to harness our inner strength and drive us forward.
Absolutely. The chariot is not about dominating or controlling others, but rather about cultivating our own inner power and wisdom. It's a reminder to trust our inner compass.
I love how this card can be both grounding and expansive at the same time. It's a reminder to stay rooted in our values and yet to be open to new experiences and opportunities.
In the myth of the chariot, we find the story of Apollonius of Tyre. He was a prince of Phoenicia, forced to flee his kingdom and face the challenges of a foreign land. With the help of the goddess Aphrodite, he was able to build a chariot and navigate the treacherous waters of the Mediterranean, ultimately emerging victorious and reclaiming his throne.
What strikes me about this myth is the tension between Apollonius' internal and external journeys. On one hand, he's navigating the external world, building a chariot and facing the unknown. On the other hand, he's also wrestling with his own desires and fears, symbolized by the sea goddess Aphrodite.
The chariot itself represents the vehicle of the self, the way we navigate our own inner landscapes. Apollonius' journey is a metaphor for the process of self-discovery and transformation, where we must confront our own shadow and integrate our opposites in order to move forward.
I think this myth also speaks to the idea of being pulled in different directions. Apollonius is torn between his loyalty to his kingdom and his desire for adventure and independence. This sense of inner conflict is a universal human experience, and the chariot reminds us that we must learn to harness our inner energies in order to achieve our goals.
The myth also highlights the importance of ritual and ceremony in the chariot. Apollonius' journey is marked by sacred acts of transformation, such as the sacrifice of his mother and the use of sacred symbols. These rituals help him to connect with the divine and tap into his inner power.
For me, the chariot is a reminder that our inner journeys are not always linear. We may face setbacks and challenges along the way, but it's through embracing the unknown and trusting our inner compass that we can ultimately achieve our goals and realize our full potential.
In dreams, the chariot often appears as a powerful symbol of will and determination. We see the charioteer, often depicted as a male figure, navigating through the subconscious landscape, overcoming obstacles and taming the wild horses of our own psyche.
I'm drawn to the idea that the chariot in dreams represents a moment of surrender, a willingness to let go of control and trust that we are being guided by a deeper wisdom. The charioteer's task is not to force their way through, but to ride the currents of the subconscious.
This reminds me of the ancient Greek myth of Pythagoras, who rode his chariot through the underworld, guided by the wisdom of his soul. The chariot is not just a symbol of willpower, but also of spiritual growth and self-discovery.
I see the chariot as a call to explore the unknown territories of our own minds. What lies beneath the surface of our conscious awareness? What hidden fears and desires are waiting to be uncovered?
In many dream traditions, the chariot is associated with the alchemical process of spiritual transformation. The charioteer represents the alchemist, who must navigate the fiery depths of their own soul to emerge transformed and reborn.
This resonates deeply with me as I've experienced moments of feeling lost and uncertain in my own journey. The chariot in dreams seems to be saying that we have the power to shape our own destiny, to create the reality we want to inhabit.
The chariot is a card of control, of harnessing our inner forces and directing them towards our desires. It's about taking charge of our lives and making conscious decisions, but it's also a reminder that our inner world is not always in harmony with our outer actions.
I see it as a reflection of our inner struggle to balance our rational and intuitive selves. We are constantly trying to reconcile our logical thinking with our emotional needs, and the chariot represents that push and pull between our rational and intuitive aspects.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The chariot is also associated with the Greek myth of Hercules, who had to drive his chariot across the finish line, symbolizing his triumph over his own inner demons. It's a card about perseverance and determination.
And yet, there's also a sense of vulnerability to the chariot. If we are not careful, our efforts to control and direct can become an attempt to control and direct others or even ourselves in a more passive way. It's a reminder to stay present and mindful in our actions.
I think that's one of the most important lessons of the chariot. To recognize when our efforts to control are actually a manifestation of our own fears and doubts. It's about trusting ourselves and our abilities rather than trying to impose our will on the world.
That's a powerful message. The chariot can also be seen as a call to inner strength and resilience, encouraging us to tap into our own inner resources and support system. It's a reminder that we don't have to face our challenges alone.
The chariot represents control, determination, and willpower. When we flip this card, we're looking at the darker, more introspective side of self-control. It's about the inner critic that's pushing us to perfection, but at what cost?
I think this is where the shadow self comes in. The chariot can represent the parts of ourselves we try to keep hidden, the parts we are afraid to confront. When we flip it, we are forced to look at the parts of ourselves that we've been trying to outrun.
That's so true. The chariot can also represent the societal expectations we put on ourselves, the need to conform to certain norms or standards. When we flip it, we're forced to question those expectations and what's truly important to us.
The flip side of the chariot is like a mirror, reflecting back all the ways we've been holding ourselves back. It's an opportunity to let go of the need for control and perfection and instead find a sense of freedom and release.
I love that idea. When we flip the chariot, we're not just looking at our own flaws and shortcomings, but also the ways in which our inner critic can be both a blessing and a curse. It's about finding that balance and embracing our humanity.
Exactly, and I think that's why the chariot is often associated with the element of earth. It's grounded, practical, but also rooted in our deepest fears and desires. When we flip it, we're not just facing our fears, we're also facing our deepest desires.
The chariot is a card of willpower, control, and determination. It represents our ability to harness our inner strength and navigate through challenges. In this sense, the carry is not just about overcoming obstacles, but also about carrying ourselves with dignity and purpose.
I think the carry speaks to the human need to assert our individuality and express ourselves authentically. It's about embracing our true nature and not letting external forces define us. This card can also represent a sense of resilience and the ability to bounce back from adversity.
That's a beautiful point, Billy. The chariot is indeed about asserting our autonomy and taking responsibility for our own journey. It's a reminder that we have the power to choose our path and create our own destiny.
And yet, the carry can also be a card of restriction and limitation. It's about recognizing what we can and cannot control and being willing to let go of things that no longer serve us. This can be a difficult balance to strike, but it's one that's essential for growth and progress.
I love how you framed it, Billy. The chariot is not just about achieving a goal, but also about being mindful of the journey itself. It's about being present and aware of our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and making intentional choices that align with our values and goals.
For me, the carry represents a kind of inner navigation, a sense of intuitive guidance that helps us find our way through life's twists and turns. It's a reminder that we don't have to be controlled by our ego or external circumstances, but can instead trust our inner wisdom to guide us.
The cards have spoken.
We'll see you at the next draw.